There's Craig. He's in. Let's get the podcast ping out. There's the podcast ping. And here we go. A late podcast today for the live listeners. Sorry about that. The Castaways decided to have a challenge at 8 p.m. I won't take offense because they didn't know that I ran my podcast at 8 p.m., but I'm a little miffed. No, I'm really not. Uh, I just enjoy, though, the slow progression of this podcast getting later and later in the day, which just means one day there's going to be like a midnight podcast and it's just going to be fully devolved Lex, just insane rambling. Though, I mean, that's already what it is. Anyways, Gabriel should be joining shortly, but today we're going to be discussing episodes 8 through 10. An unfortunate string of episodes, might I add. We have yet another interesting elimination of Mike striking out, which really sucked. And then we've got uh, two other kind of interesting episodes, at least, thankfully. But also, I decided to add in pronouns after the situation today with the castaways. I'm not going to name any names with it, but I decided it's probably a good idea to bring up the idea of pronouns and what everyone thinks about them because not everyone is on the same page, which is totally okay because pronouns are a very subjective thing. It's very you based. It's what makes you feel comfortable. And having others kind of make decisions for you. I mean, I don't know. Gonna be an interesting topic to talk about. Well, while we wait for Gabriel, might as well start on episode 8. So, episode 8 is the unfortunate elimination of Clara, our final tribal boot. We finally saw the Alskar tribe lose immunity, and I was waiting for this personally because I thought it was going to be the downfall of J-Ro, and I was ready for that OTTNN5, our like fifth one of the season, but no. J-Ro weaseled his way out of that tribal. He's such an interesting player because at this point, I see him going pretty far in this game. Like, this guy's a great weasel. Like, I won't say great player because there's been some very questionable moments this season, but he's definitely been able to kind of maneuver around the fact that people don't really like him or trust him without really fully grasping that they don't like him or trust him. It's a great thing. We further see Boofus just completely take this season into his hands. I'm here for it. I have slowly gained a love for Boofus in this game. He's chef's kiss, in my opinion. Sometimes his confessionals are interesting. His emoji choice really gets me. That's what really gets me. Cause oh my gosh, I think it's called You. Let me check. It's called You, and he uses it all the time. I don't know. It just tickles me pink. Sometimes it's very funny. Ba 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 ba. We really see the downfall of Mike starting this episode. The double invis edit from episode 8 to 9. It was it episode 8 was basically a double elimination and episode 9 really doesn't even exist cuz Mike instantly struck out after not doing confessionals and I believe not voting. Unfortunate. Really truly unfortunate. Um what else? So Clara kind of goes out with a bit of a fight, but in the worst way possible, because she started going after Rose and Court, who very clearly at this point were a very tight duo, and Clara was the third wheel. They originally weren't going to vote for her, but as soon as they caught wind of that, oh, she got out so quick. And we also see uh we see the continuation of Huntress domination on the other tribe. The other tribe's dynamics really don't change anything from episode 7. It's very much still LaFleur really kind of running the duo between him and Archer, mostly because Archer is seen as someone who's calling a lot of shots in the tribe, but everyone knows that, and they're not going to let someone who's done that really make it far in the game. But Huntress takes the cake. No one targeted her, and everyone trusted her. We see Malik continue to kind of coast through, not really ever targeted, names not really brought up much, but it's still talked about. Eh. Um, anyone else? Trying to think of anyone else. We see Average still kind of be at the bottom, which sucks. I like Average. I really like Average, and it really sucked knowing that if the Med Council tribe went to tribal, Average would have went home. And Average is such an interesting player this season because they started off super super strong, and then fell off the face of the earth after making quite a few misplays in episode 6 and 7. But spoiler alert, I kind of see them climbing up a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. But other people are making themselves targets at this point, and I can see Average weaseling their way to around 6th. And then, yeah, episode 9, literally nothing. Literally nothing. It's unfortunate to have someone strike out after some of the other things we've had happen this season. We've had 3 forced removals this season, and it's really unfortunate, and it's kind of leaving its mark on the season at this point, which sucks to know. But episode 10, I'm still kind of like I'm just a little miffed with the episode because Shadi went home, which sucked because Shadi was a really fun character. I really liked Shadi throughout this season. But from the contestant side, we didn't see much of like what strategy was going down. All we got was in the end, Shadi kind of really accepted defeat, and slowly we heard that the target was shifting to Shadi. And as shown by our Edgic, most people were just middle of the road. We really didn't know what was going on. We do see Boofus take over top spot. Huntress falls off. Everyone slowly started to realize this episode that Huntress is quite well connected, but also Huntress kind of fell off a little more in the previous episodes and socially just hasn't fully been there for the past few episodes. And I think it's finally wearing in, which sucks. I like Huntress. I like everyone at this point in the season. I think I enjoy all of the characters left, and I think this has the full capacity to be a very chaotic and game filled rest of the season. Crossing my fingers for it. We really haven't had much of like game this season. All of the pre-merge boots were very unanimous. And then we have the other like stained boots on top of that. Shoddy was pretty much unanimous. We did have a few off votes. We had the 1 vote for Huntress and 2 votes for Court, which was interesting. I I want to get my facts straight. I want to find who voted Court on top of Shoddy. Doo-doo-doo. Okay. Oh, Courtney voted herself. Yeah, okay. Never mind. So, and then average votes Huntress, which, um, was a bit of confusion because average had 2 votes in, both for Shoddy and Huntress, and I think that might have been a mix-up on their part and our part, but anyways, Huntress got the vote in the end. Can't change it now. And then Shoddy goes out pretty unanimously, gets the OTTN, which, yeah, deserved. I This was an interesting merge boot. It was a fun one. RIP Shoddy, but we do see in Ponderosa right now, we are seeing the possibility of some fights possibly happening in jury. Shoddy's not the most happy with a few people. Just feels like very betrayed. I don't think it'll lead to a bitter jury, quite like season three's, which got pretty bad. But I do think Shoddy could lead some drama in Ponderosa, which will be fun, hopefully. Some of the other drama this season has not been fun, and I just want fun drama. I live for the camp drama. Okay, so we also see in this episode 10 with Merge, we see the domination of Rose. Rose comes back in full force swinging. Everyone wants to align with Rose. Everyone wants to work with Rose. And in turn, also wants to work with LaFleur. They're very much a package deal. And I think a lot of people see it, but not a lot of people care at this point because it's still like that scramble for numbers. And I'm here for it. Rose has kind of been in the same spot that Archer's been in. Everyone likes Rose, everyone talks to Rose, and everyone knows that. Everyone knew how well connected Rose was. And people didn't want to keep her around long because of that. And she did catch heat, but never votes, which I don't know if she'll catch any more heat for the time being because she's very well insulated at this point. She's kind of the queen of alliances right now. And then we see at the bottom of the contenders, our fourth contender is Archer, finally making his appearance onto the list, which is deserved. He completely took over his tribe at the end of pre-merge, but again, everyone knew it. Now coming into this, Archer holds that power, and there's other people that are going to go before him. And that's what matters right now, is other people are going to go before him until this episode. But I don't know yet. The episode's still happening, episode 11, and I won't dive into that. Anyways, Gabriel's still not here. And that's kind of like what's happened, at least from my point of view. Of course, Gabriel gets a little more because Gabriel pays like full attention to everything said and all of the nuances that happen. I'm a bit less, if you couldn't tell. But I still have like a grasp of what's going on and what are the dynamics and how everything's going down. Just really sucks that um between these 3 episodes, I would really knock it to like an episode and a half worth of content, if that. Because the Clara vote off was very straightforward and quiet and easy until about the last 2 hours, where Clara put up a fight and it bit her in the ass. And then Shoddy, I still don't know what fully went down because we weren't really given everything. All I know is that um, Shoddy really just knew and gave up. Also, it was really funny. The whole podium thing during the tribal. Oh, I'm such a little like funny detail person, so I just pay attention to those things more than anything else. And there's been a couple points in this season where people have been like, oh my gosh, what if there's like a secret idol? Like, the host are saying it's back to basics, but it's Villainvivor and they'll do crazy things. And what if they have an idol? I'm just sitting here like, it's back to basics, y'all. I don't know what else to say. There's not a fucking idol. But Shoddy doing the podium thing, chef's kiss. It was very funny. And then Average doing the stick was also very funny, and Carmen just being like, congrats, you've lost your dog. Anyways, hi Gabriel.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm in two orgs right now and I just merged in one and then I'm at the first tribal in another. So like shit is fucking crazy right now and I didn't see that we started and I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I kind of just went over the overview of episode 8 through 10 and how it's basically like 1.5 episodes.
Oh yeah,
Because
because Mike striked out, right?
yeah, Mike striked out. And then the Clara boot was pretty quiet until Clara caught wind of it and then she self-destructed.
Yeah, but even that like wasn't super explosive, you know?
Yeah.
Just kind of threw Court and Rose under the bus a little bit and that was it.
And then Shoddy's elimination, I just have question marks around it because there wasn't much like confessionals about what was going on in the game. And we just
I
kind of
know.
saw Shoddy accept defeat, which sucked.
Well, he accepted defeat, but he didn't go down quietly.
Yes, that is true.
He said, I'm gonna go out like a star. Although I would say that he went down more in infamy than in grace.
But I have said, I think we could have a fun, shady person in Ponderosa. Because if you like look at what Shoddy's saying, he's got some like issues with players. I don't think it's gonna be a bitter thing, but I think it is gonna be like a funny, catty little fight in Ponderosa when someone arrives.
You don't think he's gonna be a bitter juror? I do. He straight up told Boofus that he's never gonna get his vote.
Well, Boofus is also kind of a dumb player. Like, yes, he's doing the best in the game, but also
But also what?
he's new, and it shows still.
Really?
He's getting better.
I think that he's just playing the best, period.
Well, how good are you playing if someone's literally not going to vote you?
Okay, well, it's someone bitter voting. Like, I literally told Sophie in a game that we played that I would never vote them, and they won the season.
Mm-hmm.
I also did not vote them because I was a bitter juror. Like, but they obviously played the best game. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
they won player of the season. Like, I can admit that I mean, this happened like this was like last year, literally a year ago, so I don't remember the game. But they probably did play the best game and I just refused to vote for them because I was bitter. So I don't think that that has anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think Shoddy has the time to cool down, possibly. But also, I know Shoddy's character, and he's gonna be interesting in Pondy. He's gonna be fun.
Oh, he's going to have something to say about everything.
Well, I mean, waking up today feeling particularly pissed off at these snakes. Great line. Great line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of the episodes were all kind of quiet, sadly.
I just,
I
I like, oh my God. I don't think we've ever had a tribal quite like Shoddy's tribal. I've never, like, we've had entertaining tribals, don't get me wrong. Like,
mhm.
fucking the F5 of last season. Hello. But, this was by far the most entertaining tribal I've ever seen, and it bordered the line of toxic, I want to say. So maybe it's not good that I'm saying that, but it was entertaining.
Mhm. And then I also mentioned the idle panic that has happened for some players
Oh yeah, what
for
the hell is
some
that?
fucking reason. And I'm just sitting back there like, it's back to basics. We're
Yeah.
not that mean, are we?
Well, no, there are some people like Ollie who used to be a host.
Mhm.
He did a back to basics season, but actually hit an idol. What the fuck?
I would lose my mind.
I'd be so pissed. I'd probably quit the game.
Oh, I would. I 1000% would. Don't call it a back to basics season unless it's actually gonna be back to basics.
Right, because you're false advertising at that point.
Anyways, I did tack on the idea of talking about pronouns because that's kind of been the topic of today's episode.
Yeah.
It got heated game wise, and I don't think I really want to cover what happened in the game, but more do like a discussion on pronouns in general and how I already mentioned that it's a pretty subjective thing. Like everyone has different opinions on pronouns because some people are way more lenient than others, and some people it causes like a physical reaction when they get misgendered by a pronoun. And I know you've discussed that before when people use the they them pronouns with you when clearly you use he him and identify only with he him.
Hmm. Yeah, I just there's so I mentioned it earlier that maybe I see it differently because I am trans, so gender is a little bit more important to me, or I experience gender in a different way that than like cis people experience gender. Um, but I don't know how to phrase what I'm gonna say. Like there's this idea that using they them is it like a fix all. Like you can just use they them and it's fine. Like you can use them and that you don't have to learn anyone's pronouns. That's not true. That's not a cop out. Like they them is still a pronoun, okay? It's a pronoun. He him is a pronoun. She her is a pronoun. Like it's yeah, and every time I bring up this argument, everyone is always like, "Well, I use they them whenever I don't know someone's gender because whenever I don't know someone's pronouns because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do." Yes, yes, if you don't know someone's pronouns, use they them. That's great. That's what you should do. Don't assume gender identity, don't assume pronouns. But if you know someone's pronouns or if it's easy to find, if you're on Discord and you can look at their roles or if you can go to a cast info sheet, like it's easy to look up. It takes 2 seconds to find and you're intentionally using they them instead of finding their pronouns, or not to get into like what happened today, but to use as an example, if you already know their pronouns and you choose to use they them instead,
Mhm.
that is misgendering because you're using the wrong pronouns. Like, because oh my, I don't even know where to fucking begin with this conversation because it's so fucking nuanced. Like, if okay, honestly, most people probably don't care. Most people probably don't care. But some people do care. And it's first of all, it's impractical to be like, okay, like for us as hosts to go to every single person and be like, do you mind being called they them? Do you mind being called they them? Do you mind being called they them? You know, that's just fucking
Mhm.
ridiculous. So I think it's just easier to use people's correct pronouns. Am I wrong in saying that? Am I wrong in saying
No,
use the correct pronouns? I don't think so. But that's just me.
no.
I don't think it's difficult to just, oh, they use he him. Okay, he is blah blah blah. It's that fucking simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a topic I'm gonna get heated about because, whenever people because I'm sorry, I know you want to get your thoughts in, and I will let you, I promise. But so for me, like this has happened. This happens all the time. People will use he him pronouns for me on here, and then they'll get into a voice call with me, and then they start using they them. Oh my god. Oh my god, that shit pisses me off to no end. Because what that tells me is that I'm not masculine enough. They don't recognize me as a man. Do you like, that is so fucking invalidating.
Mhm.
That is so invalidating. So, yeah, that shit makes me dysphoric as hell. Um, yeah, and then people will come to me and be like, "Well, it's better than she, her." Okay, but it's still not my fucking pronouns. Like, I what else is there to say about it? Oh, okay, you can talk.
No, and then I come from a different camp. I know we had a discussion about this in house chat, and there's kind of a large majority of the gender neutral or like they them users who fall more in the lines of maybe more mask or femme presenting that fall into getting misgendered so often. And like I know I have they he his pronouns, but like I've been pretty open about the fact that he is probably going to be dropped. And then it's a huge problem in the femme presenting side getting called she her. I know that much because I see it happen so often. It's just a huge problem of people just go what's most convenient for them without taking the few seconds of actually checking and making sure that they're right. It's very disheartening because I know personally, I mentioned I've put they as my first, uh, like preferred pronouns. I don't think I've really ever seen someone in an org actually use my preferred pronoun first.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just me. And I know there's like a world of different perspectives because you have every single person under the sun has a different idea of gender identity and then a different outlook on gender. So you're never going to please everyone and you're never going to get a consensus on an idea because you've got billions of people on the world in the world. So it's such a difficult topic, but it all boils down into the idea of just have some decency.
Mhm.
That's my 2 cents on the whole thing. I'm still pretty new in gender identity land
Mhm.
of things of, like, non-binary, so I'm still pretty fluid in my own, but there's also people who aren't. I'm just going in circles now, so
No, you're good. I think like what you have to say is valid. And it's interesting to hear it from like your point of view. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how to like talk about this without talking about what happened today. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because like I want to bring up like his points and then argue about them. But I won't. Um yeah, I just don't. Also, can I like point out how I like how we like do this, how we'll have like a review and then like a topic about like something like deep.
Mhm. I like it. I like it because what I think Villainvivor does really well is community building, and it's a very safe community in the end of the day. We have our moments of heated fights and things that go down, but at the end of the day, I know the hosts really want to create a sense of community where everyone feels safe. And I think a lot of like our spectators and players, alumni also really strive to making this place somewhere where everyone feels comfortable. And I think having another thing on top of that, like the podcast, that goes over some of these deeper topics is helpful. Because I know our first one, the first episode review, went over really well. We had lots of people come up and talk about their perspectives, and it was just like a healing moment. And that's all I want from these things.
I'm sorry, we just have an issue in the spectator lounge.
And we have listeners right now. If anyone ever wants to like come up and share their perspective, feel free to join in because I feel like all of these things. I know sometimes people like look at podcasts and they're like, "Oh, there's the typical host, and the typical host only ever talks." But sure, but also I really enjoy the idea of community and having everyone who have different perspectives be able to talk on issues.
We
Um,
love hearing from other people.
but I think I've kind of said my piece on the idea of pronouns. It all just boils down to common decency and intentionality is a huge one.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go into a talk that I've had IRL so often in my college department. The idea of people in apathy. Not a lot of people care what they do or what happens. And I feel like pronouns is almost the epitome of that. And it's just demoralizing sometimes because gender is something that I'm very passionate about and something that I wish the world was more educated on. And so many people have just a lack of apathy of learning and understanding, not only just like the LGBTQ community, but especially the gender side of it with transgender and non-binary and then neo pronouns. A lot of people just drag their feet and they just don't care.
Oh yeah. Um, which I think is highlighted perfectly by the comment that was just made in Spectator Lounge, where someone was like, um, you don't need to turn something into a problem. Like, not everything needs to be drama. Like, don't escalate a situation if there's not a problem. Like, it's, how are you even able to say that? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, maybe I'm just being a liberal snowflake crybaby who's triggered right now. But I think that respecting people's pronouns is important. I don't think that's dramatic. Am I wrong?
No, it's definitely important. And I mean, I can see the camp that can see us taking this person in this situation a little like quote unquote too far because at the end of the day, I mean, I talk about it anyways. Sun doesn't care too much, but it's the fact that there was an assumption made that Sun didn't care on the first part. And it's just a matter of making sure you know what you're doing. And anyways, this podcast was never intended to attack that situation because there's two sides to every coin. And I know Archer is very self justified in what they believe in or what he believes in. Sorry. What he believes in and his perspective on this whole situation. And there's people that hold the same viewpoint. So, I mean, there's sides to every coin. And I don't think we're trying to take too much of a side with this podcast instead of just overall promoting the idea of conscientiousness.
Right. I just feel like it's just like such a like privileged place to, like you were talking about with the apathy and the not caring. Like, it's such a privileged place to say that and to do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, there's this thing in therapy called countertransference. And it's what happens whenever a therapist's own thoughts and feelings regarding a client or regarding the situation being discussed, or regarding our own experiences are brought into the therapy itself. So, like, if a client is talking about being abused, and I was abused as a client, as a child, then
Mhm.
the countertransference is me being abused and me like thinking about that and applying that to the situation with my client. That's the countertransference. So I was thinking about that today and like what happened. And yeah, there's absolutely some countertransference that happened in the situation with me. Like I definitely kind of like put myself in the shoes and was like, well, if this happened to me, like I wouldn't like it. I guess kind of made it about myself in that way. But
Mhm.
like countertrans
But also
like sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'll be quick.
no, go.
Countertransference always isn't always bad. I think you can like it's always talked about as a bad thing in like social work school, but it's not always bad. Like you can learn things from countertransference. You can like reflect on the way like who you are as a therapist. And obviously that doesn't apply to this situation because we're not doing therapy, but um like I just the whole reason that I bring it up is just because like I don't mean to like speak for the entire trans community, but like I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like me like just saying like to respect people's pronouns and to not like wokefully misgender someone by using they them whenever you know that they use he him or she her or neo pronouns like is I just what the fuck am I trying to say? I just feel like trans people get it and cis people don't.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's it's an experience thing. When you have to fight for your identity so hard, you grow very attached to it. And it's something that you take a lot of pride in because of how hard you worked for it and how much you fought for it. So, on top of that, having all of that almost just thrown away so casually hurts.
You like cut out.
Oh, I did?
Oh yeah,
Where did I cut out?
you last thing I heard you say was casually.
Oh, I just kind of finished it off with someone so casually, like, throwing away all of that pain and hurt and fight just kinda is incredibly demoralizing.
Right, because like what you're saying is pronouns aren't important. To me, they are important because I fought so hard to get them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like insulting.
And then also, on top of everything that happened with the Archer situation, the whole entire hosting team was very, uh, uh, we were all in agreement with the decision made.
Yeah.
We all agreed to what happened, so it's not just a Gabriel decision. It's not just a Emma problem, who was also someone who talked through the issue with Archer. It's no one person. It's the whole hosting team decided on that. So don't just put it on yourself, Gabriel.
Yeah, I know. I just like I said, I just like took it really to heart.
Mhm.
So yeah. And I think maybe I need to step away from it.
Which is always fine. I always say personal comes first, no matter what. Even especially hosting, I would say. Players get a lot of it, but hosts really have to be around for everything. And when it's something so near and dear to your heart like this org is for you, I think it's always beneficial to take even just like an hour to just be like, nope, nothing. Not gonna look at it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to accomplish with this. Is there anything else you want to add, Gabriel?
Not that I can think of.
And then no one's really popped in trusted spec nor spec. So I think that'll be it. This has kind of been quite a mellowed down podcast by the end of it. But I like it. I like the calm energy. I think everyone kind of needs it right now. I think something's in the air recently. A lot of shit's gone down that I know of, like personal life and in everything. I think something's up, and I think just a lot of like bad things are happening. So I think a bit of like a chill down is always needed.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's our podcast for this week. It's a bit shorter. Um, don't blame me, blame the castaways. Not really. I mean, it's a mix of both. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for everyone who's been here the whole time live listening. It means a lot. We've been getting more and more people just sitting and listening to these podcasts, and it means a lot. So thank you.
Yes, love you all.
And to the YouTube viewers, I know you're out there. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week.
Toodaloo. Ew, why did I say that?